Hello everyone, welcome to another video of surviving quick match on Warzone video series. I've been steadily climbing the quick match leaderboards. The elo tends to go higher the more matches you play, or actually the more matches the whole system plays. As the top tier people get elo from the lower tier people, the top seems to like increase in elo overall. So I've been riding that wave a little bit, not really going over anyone. Still just number 46, but I've been winning myself some games and I'm back into the 1300s. I got a couple interesting games on Medium Earth, both the old version and the new version. I played against GuestNWHSzY and against where was he? I just saw him, Gangnam Style. Both of them pretty good players, and I had a couple interesting matches against them. So we're gonna take a look at those. Was against Guest NW, blah blah blah, whatever his name is, and you can see the picks here. On medium earth is very important to have your picks straight. Well, most templates is important to have your picks straight, but especially medium earth, people are so specialized in it because it's one of the main ladder maps. A lot of players know how to play medium earth, even if they don't know how to play any other template properly. They really know how to play medium earth, so you really need to pay attention to what you're doing. In this case, there was a first turn bonus in Scandinavian Peninsula, so that felt like an obvious 1-2. And then Central America was also first turn bonus, but it could be countered from southwest. So the main obvious picks would be 1-2 in Scandinavian Peninsula, 3-4 in Central America, and then either the 5 on Southwest or the 5 in Antarctica. And Antarctica, why? Because you want a +3 bonus to finish quickly if you are facing someone else in a hot zone. So you can have income faster than they have and bully them out of there, hopefully. So yeah, I went for 1-2 in Scandinavia Peninsula, 3-4 in Central America. Actually, the 3 in Antarctica, 4-5 in Central America. I probably should have put the 6 there as well in Southwest in retrospect. Ended up putting it in West Africa just because it felt like he had good expansion. But in hindsight, I think Indonesia would have been a better pick if this is the picking strategy I wanted to. Still, I left Central America open, and that was because I felt like he could probably have either not prioritize it as much because it could be countered, or he would overpick it and have 1, 2, 3 there, which would be good for me. Or have 2, but if he had 2, then I would probably still have one of them, or have Antarctica, and I could finish Antarctica, and then from Antarctica going to Argentina, blockade Argentina, and I'm denying one of the bonuses from him. So it's okay. But I really didn't think West Africa through properly, and you will see why in a moment, why it came and bite me in the ass. As you can see, GuestNW's picks were a lot more on par with the standard 1-2 Scandinavian Peninsula, and then everything clustering around Central America, and the 6th pick in Antarctica. I guess I like his picks better. I didn't think mine through as well as I should. This is the distribution we ended up with, and on the first turn he goes hard into Finland. I didn't move at all. I decided to expand in West Africa because just having the same income as him will not be enough. I need to be above him. And I should probably have an opportunity because I had one wasteland or neutral territory between me and the big stack. So this is what I do. I try to go for West Africa. Unfortunately, I miss my prey to the weighted random gods, and I miss 1-3 versus 2 attack in Ghana. So at this point, I'm behind on the game. He tried to predict that I would already flank to Murmansk, and I didn't. So that's good. Wasted armies for him. Starting to develop on Venezuela, so he's probably gonna head towards me. He does show up here, and at the same time I deploy a lot in Moscow, and I believe I'll take the Northern Territory. Yes, I do. I take Murmansk, and I start expanding into South Pole. I don't think I had enough deployment to get both, or I've was facing elimination on the north, and that's why I didn't take it. Anyway, he got Scandinavian Peninsula. I could see that, except that I skipped a turn, so I wasn't sure if he had Scandinavian Peninsula. So if you want to play this seriously, watch every single movement or of every single turn. Don't skip to the end result like I did, even if it's a real-time game. Anyways, turn 5. I decided to backtrack and finish Antarctica and fully deploy in Nigeria. Unfortunately, I run into a wall. I was hoping he would either deploy fully on the north or that he would run into me first. Unfortunately, he just moved his leftovers and hit me. But I did one thing good, which was deny him the bonus, and it was just bad luck. You see, he missed the 3 versus 2. So I guess return benefits from the weighted random gods. At this point, I was facing elimination. I was in a very bad position, so he had full control of the game. I did have more income than he did, but not much ways to capitalize on it. I could either try to go into Murmansk or predict that he would deploy in Finland and try to predict that I was going to Murmansk and just sit tight. A couple of plays were available. I didn't have order priority card though, so I was a bit restrictive on luck in Moscow. I could just let go of Moscow completely and just focus on the south and try to get an advantage that way. So I ended up deploying enough in Moscow to get Murmansk in case he would put like 4 there just to prevent my minimum attack. And I do get first action, so that's good. And he didn't predict that I would go into Murmansk, which was also good. So a bit lucky there. And unfortunately, I didn't attack from Nigeria into Brazil. So I was still in a very bad position. And now he had more income than I did. Next turn, he just wipes me out from Murmansk. I was trying to get first order play into Finland. I even used the order priority card. Don't you love when you use order priority card and you don't get order priority? Isn't that swell? I know he also used his. That's probably why he got order priority. But I want my card back. I didn't get advantage of my order priority. Ugh, I really hate that. Anyways, he wipes me out from the north, so it's pretty much GG at this point. I had to break and clean him up from South America and keep expanding. So I tried to do that, managed to break him easily on both places. Now to wipe him out from South America, it was a little bit harder. I was predicting that he would deploy more in Bolivia, and he did indeed, but I should have slammed him with 2 stacks. Anyways, this is what I was left with, and now he could freely just stay alive in South America. Even if I break Central America, we still have the same income because he finally finishes West Russia, and I'm not anywhere near finishing East Africa while he has a stack to help him get Caucasus. So yeah, it's pretty much GG at this point. Still try desperately to do something, but the game was lost. So well played from Guest. He picked better, pretty much. And I played a bit sloppy. I wasn't on my prime. I tried to do some trickery here, try to fool him, but he didn't fall for it. So GG, well played from Guest. That cost me 4.17 elo, which was a bit of a bummer. Anyways, I kind of made up for it against Gangnam Style. It was a slightly different version of Medium Earth. It was modified Medium Earth, where you have... I usually take a look at Great Lakes to know the difference. Where you have 0% straight round, and some territories are 5 or 6 for 5 bonus, like East US and East Russia, which opens up the map a little bit more for different pick strategies. Anyways, picks on this one, I decided to go for the first turn bonus in Antarctica with 1-2 there. Then I decided to go for either Greenland or Canada. I was assuming he might have prioritized Scandinavian Peninsula. And if he did, I would have a combo in Canada. If I had 3 and 5, I was pretty much screwed. But I could still do Scandinavian Peninsula, I guess. Then the sixth pick all the way in Indonesia. Was a bit afraid of the Boston triple here, but with the first turn bonus on South America, forcing a pick in South America was probably unlikely. So yeah, Europe and Asia didn't look as good because of the wastelands, wasteland in Caucasus, wasteland in West Russia, wasteland in East Russia, wasteland in East China. Bad position in Southeast Asia. I knew that West China looked good, but I didn't want to have Central Russia. To get West China would want more territories to expand into. So that was my logic. Let's take a look at picks from Gangnam Style. He went for 1-2 also in the first turn bonus. Then he went for 3 in Central Russia and 4 in Scandinavian Peninsula. So he prioritized Central Russia, which I was not expecting at all. His fifth pick was in East Africa. And his sixth in Central America, just for combo or counter or I don't know, small income. So let's see what we got. We split Antarctica as predicted, and then I got my 2 picks to combo Greenland, which felt good. So I was happy with that. I decided to slam hard on first turn in Sipple. And I also, instead of going for Greenland, which would take 1, 2, 3 turns to take, I decided to go for Scandinavian Peninsula because I predicted that he would not attack me back in Simple or just not have the income to do that. So I could just blockade safely Sipple behind me and finish Scandinavian Peninsula. And if he had attacked me with a stack, then I could have slowly gotten Scandinavian Peninsula and get some sort of income advantage over him that would allow me to stay alive in Sipple or wipe him out completely. I could also have went for the wipeout here, but then I would be one more turn without income, which might be bad. So I decided to proceed with the initial plan and get Scandinavian Peninsula. It's going to be debated. Some people would go for the wipeout. I had bad things happen when I try to go for wipeouts like this. Either they get first turn and they just delay you more, or they just deploy enough and then you don't finish them off completely and you miss a card and they're still expanding elsewhere, and it's usually it slows your initial momentum so much because they start having income before you do that it's not really worth it. It's better to just blockade. Even wasting these armies to blockade can be a big momentum shifter. I've seen that happen in quite a few games, so I was a bit weary of that, but it felt like the best decision. So I ended up going for, and since this is 0% straight round, it was easy to get Scandinavian Peninsula without praying to the weighted random gods. Got Scandinavian Peninsula. He did indeed go away to NWHSzY. So it was good that I didn't try to slam him. He might have gotten away. Actually, I had first turn, but anyways, I blockade behind me, and now he's left to the dead territory, and I can still get South America. I'm happy at this point. I want to get Greenland as fast as possible, and then either expand into Europe, well, finish South America, and then either expand into Europe or Canada or both. I figured he was probably in Australia or Indonesia. Like he could have comboed Indonesia and Southeast Asia. That was my prediction. He had this combo and just was finishing off, and then he would slowly get Southeast Asia and Australia and West China. I was assuming he was not in Africa, and I definitely was not expecting Central Russia at all. So I kept expanding. He also kept expanding. You can see the income is pretty much same, mostly because I wasted this turn just to blockade my troops. I decided to go for Europe. I thought it would be pretty safe and worthwhile having in the long run. He would not try to break it as often as he could. Then I see his stack in Nigeria, and I assume that I have more income than he does because I have all 3 of my starting spots, and I know he can't possibly have his because I blockaded one of them. So I assume I have more income than he does at this point. I'm just gonna fully deploy in Brazil and deploy minimally in Europe, and I should be able to hang on into Brazil, and that will be a benefit for me. So that's what I do. I deploy 23. He finishes West Africa. Didn't attack me at all, which was good. Now I could finish Europe behind me, get income advantage again. But he's also finishing West China, so he will have more income than I do. And at this point, I'm not quite sure on his income. Now I know he had East Africa, but I assume that the other territory would be Indonesia, which would be the only one that would make sense in my head. And I'm not counting his deployment, which you really should do if you want to play the game seriously. And I started to see his deployment, and I was thinking, okay, maybe he had some delays on cards, and he's only playing the card now. Otherwise, how can he deploy 26 this turn? This doesn't make much sense. Um, and he's slamming me, but that's fine. I can still finish my bonus and keep deploying there. He's finishing other stuff, and I assumed he would be finishing other stuff, but I was assuming that he would already be coming to Hawaii, that he would have started in Indonesia, and either he was finishing West China now or coming to Hawaii to break Central America that I supposedly had, but that I actually didn't have. So I thought I had income advantage at this point, so I start slamming him in Nigeria. This gives me a slight advantage, but I should have kept expanding to get the extra card piece. I was afraid of running into a wall if I did that. That's why I fully attacked. But in hindsight, I probably should have went into either Pacific, Southwest, or Alaska. I predicted that he was finishing West China now, but he would be in Solomon Islands for sure. So I would threaten him in Hawaii and then sidestep to Japan. And from Japan, I forgot that there was a blockade in or a wasteland in Khabarovsk, which actually makes China pretty safe at this point. You only have to protect either Japan or Korea, and you're forcing your opponent to go the long way around. So at this point, I was in a disadvantage, but I didn't realize that. When I noticed his deployment of 27, I started realizing that. Why does he have 27? This doesn't make much sense. Even if I counted all the territories, it wouldn't add up to 27. So he has West China for sure. He has Australia for sure. And there's something weird here. But I keep advancing minimally. And here I ran into a wall, sort of. And once I show up in Hawaii and I see that he's only finishing Solomon Islands this turn, is that I start understanding that I did some very strong miscalculations at some point. He was not starting in Southeast Asia, and he was not starting in Indonesia. He must have started somewhere else. And I was still quite unsure that he was in Central Russia at this point, only because I'm bad with math, or actually I didn't bother counting properly. If you at this point spend some time actually counting where your opponent's income is coming from, you will have much better predictions than I did. I knew he had West China for sure, but I thought he had Southeast Asia. So I decided I should either let go of Brazil, like go back and deploy everything in Hawaii, maybe break through Algeria in a couple of turns, or go through Turkey, Iran to break Pakistan and Xinjiang. I didn't know he had Central Russia again. Otherwise, I would have probably went through Georgia, Western Kazakhstan, or not. I don't know. It's still too cost prohibitive. Anyways, I was in a very bad position at this point. What I decided to do was still slam him on Brazil. I thought he would fully deploy in Solomon Islands. He did not. He played properly and deployed in Nigeria and attacked minimally in Solomon Islands. There was a bit of a risk from his side, which compensated. And he even attacked me last turn with the stuff. So if I had used the delay card here, I could have easily have broken into Nigeria. So that was a bit of a misplay again. I see plus 32 again, so I know for the second turn he has plus 32. So that's really his income. That's not with the card. So yeah, at this point I know I'm pretty much screwed. He's gonna keep pushing on California and break me eventually in Canada. So I need to change my plan and change it rapidly. So this is what I decide to do. Um, I move back on Venezuela. I fully deploy in Pacific Northwest, and I go into Iran, expecting to break him in Southeast Asia. And now I notice that he's not there. Why is he not there? That's weird. So I figure, okay, he's not there, but he's in West China for sure. So I just keep pushing. It should be fine. I also break through Algeria to force him a conundrum with his stack. Do you want to go with the stack north and protect Africa, or do you want to go with the stack to Brazil and break Brazil? So I force him to make this decision. At the same time, I'm backtracking on British Columbia just to buy myself some time. I decide to go through Alaska towards Kamchatka and Japan because I knew I pretty much would never be able to break through Hawaii and California. He fully deploys in Libya, which is fine. I was expecting him to do that. I do a cheeky play in Brazil, which is to use order priority card to move your cards, your stack on first turn, and then use order delay to wait a lot and wait for him to slam. And he, considering that he only saw one there, he was very unlikely to deploy any stuff, so he would run into a wall and lose all his armies. So this is an old trick. I was surprised that Gangnam Style fell for it. Was expecting him to play a bit better than that. But it worked, so I was happy. He ran into me, and I managed to break him. At the same time, I show up in Pakistan, and he saw me moving into Alaska, so he knows that I'm flanking towards Kamchatka and Japan. Probably, maybe. I got a good foot to hold in Nigeria. Unfortunately, I don't have blockade card anymore, so I can't really use it. Um, I'm left wondering if he's gonna deploy hard to break Spain or not. I could also backtrack with some troops from Alaska into British Columbia first turn. I still had one order priority. So a lot of things I could do to annoy him. I could attack from Pakistan with 3 Xinjiang and keep flanking, forcing him to deploy in Xinjiang and then deploy again in Tibet. So a lot of these micromanagement things. I noticed that I'm still 1 income behind, so he still has advantage in the game at this point, but I'm just threatening more of his income. He's threatening 2 main ones. If he breaks both of my income, Canada and Europe, he probably wins the game at this point. So this is next turn. Play order priority card. I deploy fully in Spain. He doesn't play very well. He flanks with 3 and attacks with the rest into British Columbia. So he ends up running into my wall, which is good for me. And he also didn't fully deploy in Algeria. So he didn't fully deploy on the both regions that he should have fully deployed to break something. He should have broken both Europe and Canada. And instead, I managed to delay him on both of them because he wanted to protect Xinjiang. So this was another one of his crucial mistakes. I think the first one was letting me into Nigeria. That was a big mistake. And the other one was this turn where he failed to break my income and instead tried to protect his +6. And he lost the opportunity to break 2 incomes of mine at the same time. He should have went for the trade because, I mean, West China will fall eventually. But the window of opportunity to get, for example, Europe might close down. Canada is more open. He has double border, so he could still very easily break it. I was hoping to get a blockade card soon, so I could blockade Nunavut and force him to take longer to reach Greenland. But the blockade card was still a little bit while away. So from this position, what could I do? I could try to predict where he would attack on Canada. Maybe leave 4 behind in British Columbia, move the rest to Alberta, or fully deploy in Alberta, fully deploy in Spain. Attack Tibet with 2 to force him to go there with the stack. Expect him not to go with the stack to Pakistan. So a lot of prediction work going on. I also need to attack in East Africa, and I don't have enough income for all of this. So this is what I ended up doing. Or he deploys 7 up there, and he deploys the rest in Algeria. I also deploy enough in Spain, so that was a good prediction of mine. I knew the prediction in British Columbia was a bit off. Should have left like 5 behind or something like that. I predict well in India though. I keep advancing to Myanmar, and my advance with Myanmar has 2 purposes. The first one is to challenge Thailand, force him to think about it. Also, with double borders Tibet, so I can attack from Xinjiang, force him to do an attack only or something into Xinjiang, and then I have double border to try to break Tibet. So I need to force him to either divide his troops somehow on first order and have enough to cover both ends, or get surprise broken in Tibet. He does break me in British Columbia, but I managed to hang on into Europe one more turn. So he still has income advantage at this point, because he just broke me in Canada. And Africa is starting to look a bit dire, so I really need to break him. Either get back British Columbia or break him in West China. And I'm also in position in Japan to threaten Hawaii and Solomon Islands, or go into Korea and also have another border into West China. Deploy enough to stay alive in Algeria. My stack is now in Niger, so that's good. He deploys enough to manage to break through my free in Yukon, so I won't be able to wipe him out from Canada this turn. I do manage to trick him into going to Xinjiang, so now I will be able to break Tibet, which is really good. It's a good trade for me. So now suddenly I'm ahead in income, just because I break West China. So this is, but I'm still in a very nefarious position. He can either break Europe, and I also break Egypt. That's why I'm ahead on income. He needs to break Europe and stay alive in Yukon, and he can try to retake West China, but I'm threatening in another position, and I also have Pakistan available to attack Xinjiang last action, so is in a bad place, and he ends up surrendering. I would still play through if I was him. I think he could still easily have won with just one lucky strike, either lucky striking on West China, or staying alive in Canada for a few more turns. I think it was still possible for him to win or just break me in Europe. But he decides to surrender. Good for me. I got a lot of helo out of this one. But it felt a bit undeserving. Like I didn't fully deserve this win. He played very good early on, but he made a few crucial mistakes, which really cost him the turnaround. It was a very interesting match. So well played, Gangnam style. So yeah, those were the 2 matches I wanted to show you guys on Medium Earth, both Medium Earth and Modified Medium Earth. It's a template that it's not one of my favorites, just because everyone just plays so well on it. Everyone is so used to playing Medium Earth. Even when you're facing like a lower ranked tier player, he plays awesomely on Medium Earth because he's so used to watching other people play, playing so many times. If he just spent like 1 month playing the ladder, he probably is good at Medium Earth. So you really need to pay attention to what you're doing. Big strategy, awareness, prediction, counting your enemy's income, a lot more than on the other maps on the Quickmatch ladder, in my humble opinion at least. So yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the 2 games. See you next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that jazz. See you next time. Bye bye everyone. Take care.